Hey Amol,
Hey
how are
Rahul,
you
what's
today?
up? I'm
Nothing
good.
much,
I'm
man.
good.
Nothing much. My hair seems to be growing every single episode that we record, so I'm very excited that lockdowns are lifting now, and we can actually get a haircut.
Yeah, man, but you should be careful. But I can give you a good haircut. I did mine twice over the course of the lockdown. So you should
And
hit me up on that.
and it doesn't look bad, so I might actually
Yeah,
take you up on
I'm
it.
good. I'm good. Let me tell you, I'm good.
Right. I'm very excited about what we're talking about today. So I
Yes.
know if you, I know we saw a video recently on Twitter by this account called Chain Bear. And Chain Bear is like this really famous YouTube account that talks about Formula One and every single thing Formula One. One of the things that one of the videos that I particularly really liked was how they broke down Formula One into its core component systems, right? Like what is Formula One composed of? Who are all of the different players? What are their incentives? Why are they actually doing that? So more broadly, this is something that we call systems thinking. Is the idea of taking something very
Yeah.
complex, breaking it down into its simple components, and understanding what strategies or levers you can push to actually make the whole better, right? And this is something
Yeah.
that we do as product managers day to day, every single day, whether it is internal collaboration or external collaboration or figuring out the right set of products to build. You want to understand who
Yeah.
your customers are. You want to understand, if it's a marketplace, you want to understand supply demand, their incentives, so on and so forth. So I wanted to chat with you about breaking down the Indian Premier League into
Yeah.
its component systems and understand, hey, what are the incentives in there? Like, what are the things that we see? I for the 3 hours we're enjoying this amazing game, but what's
Yeah.
going on behind the scenes? Why is it in that way? And are there any broad lessons that we can draw from how the IPL it has been executed into product development in general?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a great thing to discuss, mainly because it's my favorite sport. I've played it a lot, very close to heart. And IPL has changed world cricket in general and has brought in more brand value and brand equity to not just players or boards, which control the sport of cricket, but also to the fans. And
Right.
it's an interesting concept that got into play. So, quick context of what IPL is, or the Indian Premier League. Uh, in comparison to the NBA, NFL, and English Premier League, IPL is a franchisee-based cricketing league
Mm-hmm.
limited to 20 overs of play for either teams, and it is seasonal. It's not like uh, EPL or NBA, which goes on throughout the year. It happens for 2 months in the summer, and a lot of cash gets pumped in, a lot of eyeballs on it, and it's controlled by the Board of Cricket Control in India. And there are 8 teams as of now. Go RCB, that's my favorite team.
Go
So,
RCB, man. Go RCB.
and there are 8 teams, and depending on a couple of seasons or depending on external factors like elections, matches have happened outside of India as well.
Yep.
Uh, so that's quick context on the IPL in general.
Awesome. Awesome. So let's jump right into it, right? So one of my favorite tools to at least kind of think through systems and kind of think through strategy is to create a mind map.
Yeah,
And Whimsical is one of my favorite tools to actually create a mind map. So let me share my screen and maybe we can work through the IPL mind map together. So
we haven't.
here we have the
We
Premier
can neither confirm or deny that we have been paid by Whimsical for this.
League. That's right. That's right. It's free product placement right here. All right. Who's probably the biggest stakeholder for the IPL?
Okay, look at it. Let's look at it from a product development standpoint, and I think it's a great way to look at anything, right? So, who are your customers? Your customers, at the end of the day, are who are watching you play. So, these are the fans.
Yep.
Right? Now, fans are mainly the stakeholders, but there are two more stakeholders, which are more of internals, which are,
Cricketers
say,
is one of
cricketers themselves, which are the players. And then you also have the franchisee owners
them.
who are who own the teams.
Right. Would you consider BCCI as like a stakeholder as well, or like do you think that's the league itself?
it's a good thing to control something, because some things need to have some oversight, and they are definitely stakeholders in this. So the board is a body that controls, because in a nutshell, players can be from any country. IPL allows foreign players to take part. Hence, the only way foreign players can take part is through board agreements between their countries. Each country has a regulatory body for the sport, and they talk to each other to ensure that the players are allowed, there's smooth functioning, security of the players, and the payments of the players. All of that is taken care of at the board level. So they definitely are stakeholders in this.
Right. So as somebody, let's say you're the PM for IPL, then you probably want to keep this stakeholder particularly happy, right? And of course, it's a very symbiotic relationship. The BCCI created the IPL through its own set of people as well. So definitely, like I think a good parallel is if you're in fintech or in health tech, like you want to ensure that your regulators, the FDA or SEBI and SEC are all extremely happy, and you're consistently spending a lot of time either complying with the regulations or co-creating regulations throughout. All right.
Oh, and you want to have a good relationship with them, right?
Absolutely.
It's as simple as that. You need to have good relationships with them, and you need to do everything in your capability to maintain that relationship throughout.
Makes sense. All right. So let's talk about, so now I think we've kind of mapped out all of the major kind of players, right? Not to overload the word players here. So let's talk about fans, and like, why do fans care about the IPL? What about the IPL actually speaks to them?
That's a great question, Rahul. For this, let's give a context of cricket, right? Cricket is a sport that was originally played over a long duration of time, which means that the matches, each match or each game went on for days, right? And with the World Series cricket coming in Australia in the 70s, the format reduced, and you saw a huge number of crowds going in. Slight plug is there is this really fantastic 2-part show called How's That on Amazon Prime. And it talks about how World Series cricket changed the point of view of the fan. Fans started liking it. Fans started liking the game because they could get a beer, they could just watch a game throughout the day, and they didn't have to take days off to just follow a game.
So this went from 5 days, which is a traditional test cricket, to like in the 70s, you have this ODI format, which is basically one entire day, to now T20 and the IPL, which is basically a 4-hour game format, right?
Yeah, it's 4 hours. Fans love it. You don't have to miss office or, miss school. You can just go after school or after office. Most of the times these were played in stadiums in the nights, right? It got the entertainment value. It got the TRP of sorts, right? TRP is a metric that most media companies use to measure how many eyeballs they have. So with higher TRP, that means that during a particular season, they had 14 to 15 million viewers per match.
Right. So let me summarize that a little bit. So basically, because the format got shorter, it was much easier for people to follow along the game. And whenever you reduce friction in any system, right, you'll have more and more people actually participating in it. So that basically manifests itself as higher media ratings, more people who are actually interested in the IPL. And then, of course, you have second order effects as well, right? So one of my friends worked at Swiggy, and then every time they would have an IPL game, they would see orders spike through the roof, right?
Oh, yeah.
These are all these things where, like, when you identify one particular level for a particular system and then you tweak it, like you'll see by reducing friction or by fundamentally changing the value proposition, you can expand the base significantly. And this is a classic example of that.
Yeah, and that's a great way to look at it, right? The higher eyeballs you have on a particular game, right, you're also going to increase the value of that particular game, which means that fans are not just getting entertainment and sports, but they're also, getting ads from their favorite brands, for example. They're getting offers from their favorite brands, for example. They probably will get many other exclusive things, right? For example, one of the things that RCB does well with digital media is create this fictional character called Mr. Nangs, right? So your engagement with the team is just increasing so much because this Mr. Nag takes this parody level of approach to the IPL, and that is a feel-good factor for the
Right.
fans as well.
Right. So the value part here is because there are more and more people who are engaging, right? You have other players in the ecosystems like, media houses, brands, advertisers who increasingly want to monetize this channel, basically. So that's kind of really where the money part of, the IPL starts kicking in. The shorter format increases the number of people who can actually participate, watch the game.
Yeah.
As a result, there's more value. It's the same Facebook kind of network effect kind of model.
Oh,
One of
yeah.
the other interesting things about the shorter format is it's also a much more exciting game, right? So you have significantly higher scores in a very short time. So more and more players are incentivized to hit sixes and fours versus playing defensively.
Yeah.
So let's talk about cricketers and why they care about this format.
Yeah, and there are two schools of thought. Like my cousin's a cricketer, and he knows a few cricketers. He has his own cricket tech startup there. They work on performance enhancement, like not the drugs. Like how do you do better performance through analytics? But there are two sides to it. Cricketers love it because it's good money for them, right? Because of the league being franchise based, there's money there. Second, they are incentivized to perform better here because it's a natural path to the next level, which is representing their country.
Right.
Third, it also gets them noticed earlier on. So yeah, the discovery factor is something that is very vital. Like today, the world's best fast bowler, Jasprit Bumrah, was discovered through an IPL match. Right. So those are some of the things. You also see that players are putting in more effort towards their fitness. We can particularly see that in the Virat Kohli era of cricket, that fitness is number one. It doesn't matter what your scores are. It doesn't matter how many wickets you've taken or how many catches you've taken. If you aren't fit, you may not make it to the game or to the team. Right.
Got it. And interestingly, David Warner has been extremely active on TikTok as well, and that's another interesting incentive that I see now for players. All right. So let's talk about the money part, right? So like a bunch of this money comes from obviously the player auctions, right? Where team owners basically bid on players and give them a contract, right? Then they also have all these, because of the eyeballs, right? You have some players who have become household names, and then they can go do endorsements and
absolutely,
basically. All right. So what about team owners? So why why do the Ambanis actually want to own a team? I know lots of really famous personalities kind of jockey to own a team. Why is that?
I think it is. See, IPL, when it started off with 8 original teams, you saw that every owner was extremely high profile. They brought something to the table very differently. Shah Rukh Khan brought in the Bollywood angle, same as Preeti Zinta, right? So you had cricket expand its horizons to the entertainment sector as well. You had the Ambani, the traditional Indian business households, Ambanis, the Malias to come in, right? Why did they do that, right? It's an extension of their social status. It gives them more visibility and credibility in of their brand. They're also personalities, but they're also brands in themselves. The second thing is it's also an extension of their business, right? They already are in the realm of promoting a lot of products and businesses of theirs. And cricket in India, especially, is a natural extension for a lot of things because there is so much of a market available already.
Like a really good example of this is Kingfisher and Royal Challengers and basically RCB being named RCB because alcohol advertising isn't allowed in India, right?
Exactly, right. And this got the innovation, right? Beverage alcohol advertising, cigarette advertising is banned in India. Why do you think the airlines was named Kingfisher Airlines? Why do you think the team is named Royal Challengers Bangalore? And why do you think that you are getting players like Zaheer Khan, Virat Kohli, Rahul Dravid having a Royal Challenge jersey on them, you are immediately increasing your brand equity.
Mm-hmm.
And these are publicly traded companies, so your shareholder also has some incentive to keep, buying shares and keep holding on to it, and it's a direct consequence of that.
Right. And there's definitely a glamour angle as well. So there's a business angle, which is it's an extension of your business. There's a glamour angle, which is it's an extension of your social status. And then of course there's hardcore cash as well, because now you can, you know, teams can monetize by selling spaces on their jerseys and stuff like that. There's additional revenue that comes in, and you can have revenue share agreements with different state cricket associations and so on and so forth. And what's very interesting is a lot of these teams are actually run very, very professionally, right? So there's an amazing documentary about the Mumbai Indians on Netflix, which kind of dives deeper into how the Mumbai Indians is actually run. They have a CEO. It's actually run very professionally.
Yeah, that's a great point you bring, Rahul. For example, the when the league started, it was very much of an MVP of sorts. You literally had Vijay Mallya running the team, right? He appointed one person from KSCA, Brijesh Patel, and I think Vijay Bharadwaj was also there. These two guys were running the cricketing show with Rahul Dravid, but everything else was handled by Mallya himself. He was knee deep into operations. But as the teams got mature, as the cricketing got more mature, you did see that professionalism came into picture. Like, for example, Reliance buying a stake of IMG, which is the sport event management company, right, is testament to that. Hey, we are serious about this stuff. We want sporting to be better. And the Ambanis who own Mumbai Indians have not just made cricketing or this league professional, they've also taken it to other sectors or other games. Like, for example, football in India is much more professional than it was 10 years ago with the Indian Super League coming in. And that's something interesting to learn from IPL, like how it has had external effects onto other sports in India as well, right? Indian Badminton League is also big now. Indian Hockey League is big. Kabaddi League is also big.
And in many ways, they kind of use the IPL as their as kind of like a role model to kind of understand how to create this create this flywheel for other sports as well.
Yep, that's absolutely correct. One of the things that I would love to kind of get deeper into is how this all ties down to the world of building a product. We spoke about how teams were MVPs at first and now they're matured. This is exactly a analogous to how we build products in the tech world, right? This is a complete offline experience of that. What is the user experience? The user experience is, yes, I'm going to the stadium and watching my favorite players play. Irrespective of the result, I'm having a great experience, right? So can we like do that analogy of sorts and draw parallels to product development?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, right? So the most important stakeholder here is are your fans, and by solving the biggest pain point, which is how long the game took, right? They were able to unlock a ton of value by expanding the number of fans who were actively involved in watching cricket, which meant that you could now monetize that. Now, increasingly, I've started appreciating. Most businesses are marketplaces in my view, because you have internal and external stakeholders, and each of them have their own kind of incentives, and you're trying to connect them together, right? So like when you want to incentivize a player to come play in this league, right? You want to like incentivize them with the amount of money they can make, right? And also like this fills in like an interesting gap between state level and international level cricket. So like understanding like why an actor or a player has to come use your product and actually make that product work, especially let's say your marketplace, you're doing demand versus supply. Understanding what the incentives are for your supply is also extremely important, and what are the levers that you can push to ensure that they stick around here and they're also extremely loyal. For example, players are loyal to the IPL because of one, the amount of brand equity the IPL has, and second, the fact that it actually creates career opportunities for them, right? So a lot of new players come in, young players come in at the age of 17, 18, 19. It's their first foray into real cricket, and then they can actually leverage their
Yeah.
performance into the national teams. So creating those types of opportunities becomes very, very important, right? And on the team owner and the franchisee side, at the end of the day, it's also very similar. Like if you want to understand why another stakeholder has to interact with your system, you have to think about what's in it for them, and you have to think about creating a product experience that makes that very friction free, makes that easy to flow into. So that's kind of how I think about it. So every time I approach a product problem now, I kind of think about all of the internal subcomponents, whether that is,
Correct.
let's talk about customer success, right? So like I work in an enterprise SaaS company. So every time I build a new feature, like even though I'm serving my end customer and my end users, so the fans equivalent part of it, I want to
Yeah.
ensure that my team owners, my customer success managers have all of the right set of information. So
Correct.
they are incentivized to then go, sell that to the customers directly, right? They have the right set of tooling in place to either configure the product, to make sure the product is successful, right? So understanding these different, breaking things down into systems and understanding the different stakeholders actually helps you deliver your core value significantly better.
Got it. And that's a great way to look at it. And one of the things that in the marketplace model and in the product development model that we talk about is the demand and supply.
Mm-hmm.
This is a peculiar case. I tell you why. There is insane demand for cricket in India,
Mm-hmm.
and there's also insane supply.
Mm-hmm.
There is, how do you get that to equilibrium? It's a hard problem. You sometimes might miss the creamiest of the cricketers. Like for example, I think it was 2008. Brian Lara had just retired, but he was still hot in the market. But no IPL team bought him, right?
Right.
So, how is decision making happening at this level is something that would be interesting to know.
Yeah, and one of the dynamic here that I noticed is also the fact that there is a very, very strong regulator that basically sets the rules of the game, right? So it's not,
Yeah.
so even though we consider it to be a marketplace, it's not an open marketplace. It's not a free for all,
Yeah.
right? So you have the BCCI, which has effective control of international cricket at this point, just because of how rich it is. Because again, at the end of the day, they're the only body that can deliver cricket to its largest fan base, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of where all of their power comes from. So like think
Yeah.
of this as, Facebook holding so much attention of users, right? So like this is by news media and all of these other stakeholders in that ecosystem typically tend to struggle because Facebook has so much power in terms of what they show people, right? It's a very, very similar kind of analogy here where, and I think broadly the concept is called regulatory capture, where you have a regulator that has an outsized, say in things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Regulator, or even I think if you were to extend this to Ben Thompson's framework, like BCCI is almost like an aggregator of fan demand. And then as a result, they create these sub products and leagues to meet those. But because they ultimately, by law, have monopoly over fans, there's nobody else that can play in that ecosystem.
No, absolutely. And this is one of the examples of why the Indian Cricket League, which was started by Z, which is also a big media house in India, did not do as well. They had 2 seasons. They still saw eyeballs. They said they were the IPL for the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, but they did not succeed. And it's because of the fact of the the rule of the nature that this BCCI is such a powerful body and they control pretty much cricket in India.
Yep. Awesome. This is fun, just breaking it down into different players. I think we should do this more often.
Yeah, one of the things that last points that I want to mention, and I think this can be a good takeaway, is that why IPL was successful was not only because BCCI controls cricket in India. BCCI saw the need of the market, right? That, hey, if we want to get more people and more money into the game, we need to be innovative. And I think in the 90s itself, they had this idea of a shorter format of a game. I think it was 30 overs then.
Mm-hmm.
Gaurav Kapoor does a great job of interviewing some older folks of the BCCI to understand the journey of the IPL before Lalit Modi came in to build it. But BCCI saw the market need. What is the market need? You already have distribution. 1 billion people love the game, right?
Yep.
You already have a market. So you just had to bring a product out there that fits that market.
Right.
the product market fit eventually just comes into picture then.
Right, pretty much. It's definitely very interesting. It's about you have pent up demand, you have aggregated demand. Now it's about building products. So that's a very envious position to definitely be in
Oh, of
as
course.
as a PM for sure.
Of course. But yeah, man, this was great talking, and we should definitely keep this going.
And yeah, let's talk soon. Until next time.
Yeah. Thank you, Rahul.
See ya.